me. Okay, so week 2 is all about sleep. So hope everyone's getting cozy and ready to wind down for the day. We are going to talk about sleep and why it's important for energy, because basically during sleep it allows your body to detox, which can be a cause of you feeling a bit sleepy during the day. It also reduces inflammation in your brain and detoxifies your brain as well, which makes you think clearer and respond quicker. And it's kind of like planting a seed for setting yourself up for that most success for your next day. So this all begins the night before in your routine to start your next day with success. So we're going to begin with kind of journaling a little bit about your sleep. So if you want to grab your books and have them with you in your pen. The first question I'm going to ask you guys is probably one that you're probably already thinking. What or how many hours of sleep do you get a night typically? Sorry, I'm just going to let a few people in. Hopefully they come in. But yeah, journal about how many hours of sleep you tend to get typically if you're thinking about a regular good night's sleep. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. We just started. We're just talking about sleep, and right now we're journaling in our, or we're writing down in our journal, typically how many hours of sleep you get a night.
Okay.
It can be if it's like steady, like 6 hours, or if it's interrupted, kind of just write that down so you kind of have an idea. Okay. Sorry, Shanaz, have you been able to hear any of it? Hi, I hear you now. Sorry, just a little bit of technical stuff and then we'll get back into the session. So Shanaz, I'm not sure if you've been able to hear because you've had a little bit of difficulty. But right now what we've started with is writing down how many hours of sleep you get in a night. Yeah. We'll just give her a few minutes to catch up and then we'll continue.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. So while we're thinking about how many hours of sleep we get, it kind of what each person needs is kind of individual. But studies do say that most people need probably between 7 to 8 hours of good sleep in a night. Some people say they can function off less, and some people might need more, but that's a general thought about hours of sleep that you need. The next question I'm going to ask you, and this is individual, is this enough sleep for you? Do you feel rested when you wake up? And if anyone wants to share what they're thinking, if they are feeling like they're getting enough sleep, or if they're feeling unrested, you are welcome to unmute yourself, or in the chat. I think there's like in the chat, there's an option to like raise your hand. You can do that as well.
I can share. So I usually get about 6 to 7 hours of sleep a night, and I generally feel fairly rested. So sleep probably I do okay with, as long as I don't have too many like kids or interruptions through the night. I generally get a fairly decent sleep.
Okay, that's good. And it's good that you wake up feeling rested, because that's sometimes where some people, myself included, can sometimes not wake up feeling rested. So that's great to hear. Anybody else?
I generally get 6 to 8 hours, and sometimes I feel rested and sometimes I don't.
Yeah, so do you find when you are sleeping that you are tossing and turning a lot, that you notice, or
So sometimes, so those nights I don't feel rested, and
yeah.
sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, and then the nights that I don't, they're awesome.
I know, if only every night was set for success like that, right?
Yeah.
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 I just moved you guys onto a new screen, which is always exciting. All right. So the next question or actually we're done questions. So we're gonna talk a little bit about sleep hygiene. So things to set yourself up for success is basically beginning with how you go to sleep. So sleep hygiene, thinking like having a shower or brushing your teeth in the morning, it is a habit that most people tend to not really think about, or at least I didn't think about this for the longest time. I kind of just was like, okay, it's time for bed, I'm tired, I'm gonna go to sleep. And literally put my PJs on, brush my teeth, and crawl into bed. But having a sleep routine is important for many things. It can help you create the habit of making it a ritual for your body, so your body knows when to fall asleep. So sometimes you might have difficulty falling asleep if you are going to bed at different times throughout the week. So it's just kind of a habit and a routine to help you sleep and get the most hours of sleep to set yourself up for success the next day. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so I used to have the problem of waking up an hour after going to sleep every night. It was like the most annoying thing, because I would wake up feeling that I was asleep for a long period of time, and then I would look and it'd only be an hour. And I would also have issues like falling asleep or staying asleep. So those issues kind of resolved once I started doing a few different things. So bear with me, I'm going to tell you my little regimen, as well as a few other things that I have picked up along the way for people that are looking for sleep strategies or different ways of going to sleep. So what has helped me is having a consistent bedtime every night. This might sound a little lame, but I tend to crawl into bed between 9 and 9:30 at night. I do wake up at 5:15, so that gives me like a solid amount of time. And I try to have lights out and sleeping by 10. So having that consistent bedtime, like I said, creates a rhythm, and that actually helps your body to know when to start making melatonin for you to fall asleep. Okay. So my bedtime routine is to shower. I usually put on like some diffuser essential oils. I like to dim all my lights, and I like to play like calming or spa-like music in the background. And then I tend to crawl into bed between 9:30. I either read a book and then end up falling asleep, or I sometimes do some kind of breath work to slow my breath down so that I'm able to fall asleep, or I journal. Okay. So research shows that by 10 p.m., that's when your natural circadian rhythm tends to go into what they call a kapha state, which is like a yoga term, where it means the energy around you is a bit slower and heavier, and you are able to fall asleep. Now, if you tend to go to bed a little bit later, like closer to 11, that's when the energy states tend to pick up. So it can be a little bit trickier to fall asleep, I guess, depending on what, how tired you are or what your natural routine is. So the next question I'm going to ask everybody is do you have some sort of sleep routine that maybe you weren't aware of until we talked about this, or a sleep habit that you tend to do every night? And you can just write it down. And then if anyone wants to share what works for them, so that it's not just necessarily my opinion about sleep, or if they've had any like insight or ahas about sleep routines that they maybe weren't aware they did these things. Yeah.
I'll share. I like to hear sound like before I go to sleep. So like someone talking or something in the background actually makes me fall asleep. So, but I try to, instead of having like TV, I don't have a TV in my room, but instead of having like any, like I would just have put something on like a podcast or something on my phone, and like I usually don't end up hearing much of it, but but I just like that just puts me to sleep, either hearing the talk, but sometimes I also will like listen to like a sleep time meditation, like different things. But for me, like if my mind is racing, if I don't feel like settled, like some hearing sound, someone talking, like kind of like calms me down a little bit. So
Yeah. Yeah, like just hearing other people's voices, I guess, or listening to something calming.
yeah, I think it's like, for me, I think it's a little bit of like not feeling afraid. Not that, like, I don't know, I have like this weird fear of falling asleep and somebody breaking in or something. For some reason, like hearing noise or something makes me not feel alone. So
Yeah. Yeah. So it kind of is a distraction for your mind, or else it'll get carried away.
yeah, otherwise I'm like, if I hear a sound, I'm like, it was at the front door. Did somebody try to break in?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? So some things in line with what Christian said. or Christiana, sorry, said, is I use this app called Insight. It's free. Or there's the Calm app that has like music and meditations. I think there is like a small fee with it, or there is like free ones that you can use. Or right now, like Deepak and Oprah have their 21-day meditation, which actually I tend to listen to at night. And I know you're not supposed to fall asleep, but I always tend to fall asleep during it. So it's just something to listen to, and it's always positive and insightful. Yeah, just those extra little things on the side. Okay, so moving forward, the next thing I'm going to talk to or discuss is drinking coffee. So the next question for you guys is drinking coffee. Do you drink coffee or any caffeinated beverages? And how many cups of coffee do you drink a day? And also kind of write down the times of the days that you tend to drink it. So I'm not going to say not to drink, no to, or I'm not going to say you can't drink coffee. It's more about being aware of the time of the day you are drinking coffee, even if you feel that your body doesn't really have a reaction to caffeine. It can affect your, I guess, sympathetic nervous system more than you actually think. Like you might not feel that jolt of energy from caffeine like some people feel, but it can affect the way you fall asleep. It's kind of putting your body in fight or flight mode. If you like feel your heartbeat, it's actually beating faster than if you were just having no coffee or just a regular water. And it can make your muscles tense, and it can also cause you to have like a bit of anxiety. So your thoughts might be racing a bit more, making it maybe a bit trickier to fall asleep or stay asleep, or it might make you have vivid dreams. So anyone experience caffeine and issues falling asleep? No, that's great.
I can't touch it after 12 noon.
Afternoon?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I do drink quite a bit of coffee in the morning, probably 3 to 4 cups, but I can't afternoon either. That's kind of my cutoff. Otherwise, I do find it affects my sleep at night.
Yeah. And then it kind of creates a cycle because then you're tired from the caffeine and then you drink more coffee. Yeah, it's interesting how that happens. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is dimming the lights in your home. So bright lights are what they call blue lights from your screens or your TV, which tends to be a trendy topic these days, actually can cause the decrease in melatonin production in your body. So what you want to do is try to reduce, if possible, I highly recommend this, any screen time like TVs or telephones, at least 30 minutes to 1 hour before bed. Even like on the phone, scrolling through Instagram, that it may not feel like it's having an impact on you, but your mind is actually racing because it's just trying to pick up everything that it just saw, which can also impact your sleep. So blue light is also from bright light. So if you want to just kind of have a dimmer, or I tend to shut off most of my lights and just keep a few lights on in the house. Like if I am going to be like a lamp by my bed if I'm going to be laying in my bed and reading. So you want to have some light because you don't want to strain your eyes, but at the same time, you don't want it to be really bright because then, like I said, the melatonin in your body that helps you stay asleep and fall asleep isn't produced as well. And from the author, Why We Sleep, they say that you should get into bed and be in bed for the 8 hours. It's not necessarily about getting like solid sleep, but it's also like that rest phase that your body needs. So I know it's not always physically possible to be in bed for about 8 hours, but it's also kind of having that time to decompress and kind of be in bed and relax and kind of get your body into that state of wanting to fall asleep. The last thing, I skipped one thing. You want to make sure you get outside. So as much as it's important to, I guess, move your body and exercise, which is another topic we're going to talk about in a couple weeks, it's also important for you to get vitamin D and sunshine, which is tricky when it's cloudy, but you can still get some sunshine. And right now it can be tricky for people to get outside if you're working from home, but if you're sitting by a window, you're still getting that sunlight. And it's especially important in the morning because you want to actually break up that melatonin that's circulating in your body, as well as it kind of sets up your body for producing it for when you want to go to sleep later at night. So that is just something to think about. Sometimes people, when it's sunny out in the morning, wear sunglasses, which is good to protect your eyes, but that sometimes can hinder the process of stopping the production of melatonin and waking you up. So some things to think about. Obviously, if you're driving, then it's a safety hazard, but just some things to think about in the morning if it's sunny out and you tend to wear sunglasses. Last topic to discuss is temperature of your room. So I notice this because I tend to be a hot sleeper. So I like to turn my thermostat down at night. And researchers say usually your house should be between 15 and 19 degrees, which I think is a little bit chilly. I tend to keep my house around 19 to 20, but it's all variable depending on your sheets and your duvet or how like warm you sleep, or if you tend to be cold, it's hard to fall asleep if you're freezing. So that's just some things to consider. Any questions or comments so far? Okay, so things to do for a sleep routine. So some of the things that when I was learning about this and researching for this workshop, were some things that you can do are brain dumping. So some people that tend to have a lot of thoughts or have very high energy before going to bed, they can do something called brain dumping. So it's taking like a book by your bed and literally just writing out every single thought that you have in your head and just getting rid of everything on a piece of paper. And hopefully you don't get carried away and start writing a whole book, but kind of just being like all the thoughts that are on your mind that you're worrying about, you can just write them down and be like, okay, tomorrow when I get up, I can look at this if they're still bothering me, or if there are things I need to do. Reading a book or a quote before going to bed is always a nice way of going to sleep. It's kind of like child, like when you're a child and you read a story to go to sleep, it kind of is reminiscent of that. Journaling about your day, like always, gratitude is always a good practice. So 4 things that you are thankful for in the day, a way to reflect on where things went well, and always just having some appreciation is always a nice practice to have. And then breath work. So breath work, which I have from my yoga teacher training. Basically, when you want to calm your nervous system, if you extend your exhale longer than your inhale, it tends to naturally decrease your stress level in your body. It decreases your sympathetic nervous system, and it basically allows you to relax and calm and feel more at ease. So some of the breath work that I have done in the past is like inhaling to the count of 4, exhaling to the count of 7. And you can just kind of do this practice breath in and out on your own when you are trying to fall asleep. So sometimes if you're having difficulty, that is a good exercise to do. Any questions or comments or things you loved?
I laughed about your brain dump. I'll just share that I often keep a pen or paper beside my bed, and sometimes, not very often, but I'll wake up in the middle of the night with something that I forgot to do, and like afraid I'll remember or forget it in the morning, and so I can just write it down and it's off my mind, and then I can go fall back to sleep.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Or do you just do it in the dark?
Sherilyn, do you turn on a light, or you just write it in the dark?
Sorry, I was having issues with my mute. Usually I might have my phone beside me, but I just have like a pen and paper beside on my nightside table. So.
Okay. Good.
Or if I'm just trying to fall asleep, right? And you're like,
yeah,
you get a thought in your head and you're like, oh.
Rather than chase it for hours.
Exactly. And then you have a weird dream where somehow it ends up in there. Yeah. Anybody else? Okay, so we're going to go into a little bit more science. Sorry, I'm going to geek out on a little bit of my nursing background here. What happens to your body when you don't get enough sleep? So sleep is part of I guess your mental awareness, and like I said earlier, your detoxification process. It helps eliminate inflammation in your brain. It's part of the whole, I guess, rinse and repeat of life. Okay, so what happens with your body if you don't get enough sleep? You tend to want energy, and you want energy fast, because your body is like, I didn't get enough rest to repair myself and detoxify, so I need to have energy to do this process for yourself. And what ends up happening is you tend to go for caffeine with sugar or carbohydrates in I guess hope that you'll get that quick burst of energy that your body is creating, that it needs in order to continue the process of recovery. So it kind of sets yourself up for failure, because last week we learned about nutrition, and if you're eating a lot of sugars and carbs, your body tends to go like on a bit of a roller coaster, and you're going up and down, constantly trying to meet that peak of energy instead of having a protein and fat to help prolong that roller coaster, I guess, reaction. So then it also causes you to have all the brain fog and all the other symptoms that go along with having the roller coaster reaction to your to the food that you've ate. So knowing that when you don't get enough sleep, that your body hasn't done the process that it needs to do through the night, and knowing that when you're waking up the next morning, your body's naturally going to want to crave foods that are quick energy foods, you kind of need to be more conscious of the foods that you are going to lean towards in that day. And because maybe you didn't sleep well, you might hit snooze a bit more. So then you're going to be in a hurry and you're going to rush to have something that's quick and easy that may not be as healthy. So it's just kind of being mindful if you have this experience that you're more likely to crave things that are going to decrease your energy and kind of keep you in a bit of a spiral. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now we're going to do a bit more questions. So the first question is kind of we're going to implement some of the knowledge that we just learned and kind of ask ourselves, in order to get more sleep, what might we have to let go of? Or what might you need to do in your life to allow you to get more sleep?
Mm-hmm.
If you need more sleep. If you're happy with where you're at, maybe it's more consistent, better sleep, or a variation of that. Okay. Next question. We often set goals for an ideal week. So let's look at our week going forward from today, so till next Wednesday, and see if there's anything coming up that might be a potential obstacle or prevent you from reaching your goal of increasing your sleep or getting better sleep, or ways of your sleep disturbance patterns. So like, for example, Saturday, there's a big birthday party coming up and you're not going to be going to bed till 2. Those kind of things are good to know ahead of time. So kind of just look through your week and kind of write down things that could be potential obstacles. Or you have a big deadline for work coming up and you're going to be up late working on it. So the reason why I get you to look at potential obstacles, because the first step to success with any goal or habit change is acknowledging where your pitfalls are or where things might deviate from your plan. And that is kind of the first step, is knowing where your blind spots are. And then the second step is working with those blind spots to make them work with you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Does anyone have anything they want to share? Do they want to share goals or their potential obstacle that they're coming up with? Any questions or comments?
So my potential obstacle would be like in IGT, we do 7 days a call in a row. And
Right.
we're expected to work 5 days. So it's tricky when you're there late and You have to do 7 days of it, and then you're there on the weekend.
Yeah,
Mm.
that is tricky. That,
And then if you get called in the middle of the night, you gotta go.
yeah, that completely is that's a obstacle that you really can't
Yeah, you can't
change.
avoid.
Yeah, yeah,
And
um, which sucks. Yeah.
Sort
I
of quick
guess,
wind down,
sorry.
some quicker wind down methods, or
Yeah, so it's definitely when I used to do call, like coming home and crawling back into bed, sometimes it's hard to fall asleep. So just
It is.
thinking about the breath work might help.
Okay.
And also being on call, like it definitely kind of makes you sleepless. I know in the beginning, maybe not so much anymore for you, but like you're like, did my pager go off? Did I miss? So it can be a little bit nerve-wracking for that sense as well. Yeah. So I hear you on that, and that is definitely an obstacle for sure for you meeting your goal. So things to think about is just making sure you're eating healthy, good foods during the day then, so you can have energy, and then just thinking about your wind down for sleep in between if you do get called in.
Thank you. I wouldn't have thought of the breath work, so that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
I actually have
have
come home and sit in front of the TV as a wind down.
blue light.
I know.
I have one, maybe, I don't know if it's a tip, Danielle, you might not like this or not, but I call it my one like kind of cheat. I'm fortunate that I don't have to do shift work, but I often have a lot of late night meetings and are doing like presentations and things that really kind of are really high energy, right? And so when I get home, I have a harder time kind of turning my brain down and slowing my body down. So, oh, am I still there?
Yep. Yeah.
So I have, you can purchase, it's called Sleepy Time Tea in like the drugstore. And so if I come home from one of those meetings and I know I'm it's going to take me a while to relax my body, but it might be 10 or 11 o'clock at night, I will have one of those teas, and then and that's kind of my cheat. And I can tell when I get home if I need one to fall asleep. So
What's in the tea? What's in the tea? Is there anything in
I'm
it?
not, like it says it's all natural. I'm not sure. There will be something in it that's like it does make me fall asleep fairly quickly. So I'm not sure exactly what is in it, but it's like a natural tea you can get at a drugstore.
Sounds
I
good.
do it actually every. I have one right here in front of me because I do it every night. It's chamomile, licorice root, flower, lavender flower, lime flower, valerian root, and tulsa leaf. Tulsa leaf.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do it every night actually.
Yeah.
It's part of my routine.
And do you find it helpful?
Yeah, you know what?
Do you
I have to. I truly do actually, because I only do it just after I brush my teeth and wash my face, and then I make my tea, and I usually let it steep for about 10 minutes. Well, I'm doing everything 10 or 15 minutes, and then I drink it. Often I drink it in bed with my book so that I can go to sleep. Is that because I have a bit of a monkey mind?
And I recommend that. And some of the research that I read about chamomile, it is great for sleep. Some people do say honey as well, like having a tablespoon of honey. I'm not quite sure on the science behind having honey in your stomach and why that is beneficial, but people do say that. But chamomile, it doesn't work right away. So sometimes you have to do it over a period of time before you start really benefiting from chamomile. It has to build up in your bloodstream. But yes, sleepy time tea is great. Anything else before we end the session?
The other thing I find is really helpful is exercise. So if you can get out and get more exercise, I find, and I think quite a few people do, that you do tend to sleep better at night.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
True.
Yeah.
It's big.
Okay. So next week's topic will be meditation and self-care. I am going to lead you guys through a short meditation. So wear something cozy and comfy for the meditation. And then, then we'll discuss a little bit about self-care and why that's important for increasing your energy. Anything else before we say goodbye?
Yeah, that was great.
No, thank you guys, everyone, for jumping in and chatting and sharing. I thank you. Like, it's so great. I'm happy to be doing this with you guys.
And I do love the comments.
Thank you.
All right. See you guys, everyone, next Wednesday at 8. Take care.
Night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.